It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. OK, just introduce myself again, because it's in my speech, and even though Nigel's very kindly introduced me, I was leader of Newham Council for 6.5 years, and then I was the executive mayor for 16 years. I was the first ever Labour directly elected mayor. You'll remember Ken Livingstone was elected, but he was elected as independent. So in the end, I beat him. It used to annoy him. And I'm here to explain basically why we've left the Labour Party and why we've joined Reform. And Clive is going to say something about some of the other reasons why we did it. We've tried to coordinate our speech. If we say the same thing twice, I apologise for wasting your time. So we came to the conclusion that the old parties can't deliver services, and the result of not delivering services is cynicism in the electorate. We promise, and then nothing happens. Now, the Tories did that to excess. They promised and promised, and nothing happened. They failed to deliver all the things they said they would do. And then the Labour government came, and we thought, here we are, Keir Starmer's going to do things brilliantly, it's going to be different. I wasn't convinced. So what have we done since then? We're going to stop the illegal boats, but we can't even send a warship to Cyprus. Never mind stopping the illegal boats. The Labour government said we'll build 300,000 homes a year. Not a chance. Not a chance, and never was a chance. And the result is rents will go up, and people who are currently suffering with high rents are going to suffer even further in the private sector. The NHS, they pour billions down it, and nothing happens. And one of our contentions is that we've forgotten how to deliver services, and that delivering services is how we will connect with the British people and stop the cynicism that's going on there. But it's worse. In the NHS, Labour's lost its moral compass. Not only have they decided to cut waiting lists, they've gone to the waiting list and said, where are the people who shouldn't be on the waiting list? We'll take them off, and then we can say we've cut the waiting list. That is immoral. And then, and I know they've gone back on this, they're going to experiment on children. Experimenting on children is not something that the Labour Party should ever have done or been doing. They've lost the moral compass for us. But they aren't just bad at what they're delivering, it's also damaging. You take the universities and the vast expansion, the premium from that is falling. They're scamming kids on the debt that they've got. And actually what we didn't realise was that they'd end up large number of kids doing pointless courses with fourth-rate lecturers brainwashing them into a view that says this country isn't a good country. Well, we both think, and I guess the other people, I guess Nigel and Leila think, this is a country to be proud of with a proud record. Now, John Curtis said something really interesting recently, and I hope you all looked at it because you'll be political journalists. It's very important. He said there's still left-right, but actually there's another thing now, social liberals and social conservatives, what you might call lazily woke. Well, we'd argue it's social illiberals. And one of the things Clive and I believe passionately in is Enlightenment values. We believe in the idea of empiricism, the idea of free speech. Free speech is not violence. We think that rational thought is how we should govern ourselves. That's being thrown out the window at a great rate of knots. So you look at the rise in anti-Semitism in this country, which is an absolute scandal. The government, the Labour government, is trying to enforce a blasphemy law on people who burn Qurans. I think it's a stupid thing to do, by the way, but it's people's right to do that. So they're trying to enforce a blasphemy law. The four women in Scotland who went and won a court order, won at the Supreme Court, and Bridget Phillipson still hasn't come out and said, you know, women have rights too. And I think it's portrayed as a tragedy. It's not. It's a women's rights issue. And I would be remiss if I didn't say I think those of us who are feminists and support the feminist cause have to stand by those women. And then, of course, the rape gang cover-up. And it's one of the interesting things that this was pointed out earlier by Reform. And why is there two things that are happening with that rape gang cover-up? One is covered up on the basis that you mustn't upset the community. Nonsense. Most Muslims are appalled at what went on. But you mustn't upset the community. And secondly, it exposed, as Gorton did, the transactional relationship between reactionary Muslims and those who want to get their votes and have them turned out. And be clear, I represented a borough that was a third Muslim. And 80% satisfaction, clearly those Muslims thought we were doing a good job because we thought they were important, but we didn't talk them through the mosques. We didn't do that. We talked them direct. because we think that's how British politics should work. So then I come to one last thing I was going to say. The budget deficit, as we keep banging up our budget deficit, we don't have the capacity to do any of the things that we ought to be doing or the things we ought to try and do. And I think that is giving our children problems in the future. They'll have to make the cuts that this government hasn't got the courage to do. And one last thing, in terms of cuts, if you look at the most damaging thing, you've got a situation where their benefits can't be cut, so it's better not to work. And I'm going to quote you Clause 4 of the Labour Party. Have you read Clause 4 of the Labour Party? The new one that Blair brought in? It says, one of the bit, to create for each of us the means to realise our true potential. Well, that means work. And if you stop people working, they're not realising their true potential. And again, the Labour Party sacrificed the things that actually stood for. That's what we think. We stand where we always stood. They don't stand anywhere anymore. So, why reform? Well, I have to say, the idea of the Greens, which is just Labour on steroids or whatever drug they've decided to legalise this month, is absolute nonsense. It's dangerous and it's evil. Now, we looked at it and we thought, well, of course, reform's racist, isn't it? Oh, we all know it's racist. And why is it racist? Because actually reform, we're raising the issues people are addressing today earlier than anybody else. And when the woke get going, they keep labelling and labelling and labelling. If I thought reform was racist, if Clive thought reform was racist, we wouldn't be in this room or even near this headquarters. It's not. And I challenge anybody to show how it is. I can show you some other parties that are racist. I can show you parties that are anti-Semitic. I can show you parties that have been told they're institutionally racist. I can show you that. But I don't believe, and I'm happy to have this debate at any point, that reform is in any way racist. But what it is doing is standing against the liberal values that people are trying to bring into our country. It discusses issues other people won't discuss. Gorton was interesting. You got people vote. We know they voted for families. They do that. They've been doing that for ages. But it's a secret ballot. It's the ballots at home that actually cause the big problem. And I would just remind you that the Chartists, we were discussing this in 1848, said one of the things we should have is a secret ballot. And when you throw that away, you throw away our democracy, I have to say. And the other thing was, of course, the Baranari clan voting, which is not the way we think our politics should be going. So, we thought reform, it's got a lot of rough edges, but we think there's an opportunity to transform our society. There's going to be a number of reform councils, and we're going to work, Clive and I, with those councils to try to deliver the services that people need and deserve and deliver them at cost. Because the money you raise in tax isn't your money. When I see stuff saying Sadiq Khan is paying money, it's on all the posters, is giving money. No, he's not. He's taking money from somebody to give it to somebody else. Sometimes that's a good thing. I'm a social democrat. I'm not against that. But it needs to be money that's well spent, and that's the problem we've got with our society today. So, we're going to work with councillors, we're going to see what we can do, and what I'd now like to do, I'm going to hand over to Clive, and I just say on Clive, he has a very impressive record of public service, before he was ever a councillor or anything. He's a colleague and a friend, and he was co-councillor with me for 4 years in a seat, so it was quite fun. He's a key player in what we did in Newham, and I'll just remind you, 80% satisfaction, no increase in council tax, no cuts, biggest employment project in the country, teaching every kid to play a musical instrument, all sorts of things we did, but no cuts, yet we were able to do it without increasing tax. Clive was a key player in that, and one more thing he did, which he's a bit embarrassed about, he delivered stuff working with the NHS. I think he's the only person in this country that's managed to work with the NHS to deliver stuff. So, Clive.
Short sentence that it's very, very difficult for any member of the Labour Party to say. I love this country. I do. It's given me everything. I love what it has been. I love what it can be. This is the place where I live and I choose to live. I want it to be better. And that's why I have decided, if I may make the reference back to Theodore Roosevelt, to rejoin the men in the arena. Come off the sidelines, but to join those in the arena who are willing to get their hands dirty and take up the fight. Well, as you know, I'm Clive Furness, and I will be standing as Reform's candidate for the Mayor of Newham. I joined the Labour Party when I was 21, and that was a long time ago. I went on to serve for 21 years as a Labour councillor in Newham, and that's where I've had my home for the best part of 50 years. Now, it would be an exaggeration to say that I enjoyed my entire time as a Labour councillor. But I felt we achieved something, and I felt that it was worthwhile. But it took its emotional cost, and I was hesitant about returning to the fray. But in the 8 years since I left the council, the Labour Party has become unrecognisable from the party I joined as a young man. I joined a party that represented working people and which was inspired by the principles of the Enlightenment. Chief among these were freedom of expression and freedom of thought. These principles are under assault today. The CPS under Labour seems intent on reintroducing a crime of blasphemy, albeit by the back door. As Robin mentioned, a man cleared by the Court of Appeal of giving offence has been hounded by the CPS. His words and actions offended someone. Meanwhile, the man who attacked him with a knife, which would attract a tariff of something like 4 years in prison, was given a suspended sentence. A teacher from Batley remains in hiding because the government cannot or will not protect him from religious bigots intent on violence. There is a sense in which the government has surrendered to mob rule. Across the country and in Newham, I see people dividing on the basis of I see people dividing on the basis of ethnicity and religion. It's no exaggeration to speak of the balkanisation of Britain. That is not the land I want to live in. Labour's response has been to appease the most reactionary parts of our society. Labour also continues to have problems with anti-Semitism. In Newham, in the last 2 terms, 4 members of Newham Council who published anti-Semitic comments have either been suspended or deselected. And the most egregious one was one who was foolish enough to publish her admiration of Adolf Hitler and his innovative solution to the Jewish problem. She put that on Facebook. But she'd served 4 years as a Labour councillor before that was revealed. In 2 of the last 3 elections, Labour has been more popular amongst those earning more than £70,000 a year than amongst those in classes C1 to E. Labour has abandoned its core principles, and it's abandoned the working class. We might reasonably ask, what is it there for? There are 2 candidates in Newham who've already declared for the May election. Both have published their outline programmes. Not only do they look similar to one another, but they both look similar to the programme that Robin ran 8 years ago. After 8 years of Labour mismanagement, I suspect it will take more time than they suppose to put their pledges into action. I'm making no policy promises at this point, but if elected, I will put into practice the principles we worked on until 2018. My priority will be to get council spending under control. It is only once you control spending that you can choose to spend money wisely. Council tax is probably the most regressive tax we have. Those it hits hardest are those working on modest wages. It takes the greatest proportion of their incomes. The time must come to an end where council tax is used as an ATM for politicians to fund their pet projects. Politics at all levels now is too much about virtue signalling. In what other period of our history would a national political leader struggle to define what a woman was? I entered politics to make changes. So my candidacy is not about protest, it's about delivery. And this is my central message to the people of Newham. It's not about serving one group over another. It's about delivering for all of our residents in the borough. Now, sorry about this, Nigel, but Respect is not perfect. But they are speaking, and they are the only people who have been speaking to the issues affecting the British public. In Layla, we have a candidate who brings ideas and energy. A candidate who actually likes people and is liked by them. A candidate who can revive London for all Londoners. I look forward to working alongside her. Labour and the Conservatives have failed London. It's time for change. Layla can make that change. Sadiq can't.